Hi there, in this video I'll explain the basics of Reaper gameplay, go over their abilities, and discuss their openers and burst window. Let's dive into it. Firstly, Reapers have a personal 10% damage up buff for 30 seconds, Death Design. You should keep this up throughout the fight. This is applied through Shadow of Death for a single target and Whirl of Death for multiple targets. Applying the buff does not break your combo, and the buff can be stacked, i.e. you can apply it back to back for a maximum of 60 seconds. Reaper gameplay is all about your gauges, the Soul Gauge and the Shroud Gauge. You will build up Soul Gauge with your GCDs, and once you reach 50 gauge, you can spend this to gain 10 Shroud Gauge, and once you have 50 Shroud Gauge, you can spend this on Enshroud. Your weapon skills combo increases Soul Gauge by 10 for each weapon skill. For single targets, you will be doing Slice, Waxing Slice into Infernal Slice. For AoE situations with more than 2 targets, you will be doing Spinning Scythe and Nightmare Scythe. We also have 2 GCDs which instantly give 50 Soul Gauge. They are Soul Slice for single targets and Soul Scythe for multiple targets. You have 2 stacks of each with a 30 seconds recast time. To spend your Soul Gauge, you will use your OGCD abilities Bloodstock, Gluttony, and Grimswathe. Bloodstock is for single targets, Grimswathe for multiple targets, while you can use Gluttony for both. Using any of these abilities will grant you Soul Reaver stacks, which allows the usage of Gibbet, Gallows, and Guillotine. Each of this weapon skill needs 1 stack of Soul Reaver to be used, and each of them gives you 10 Shroud Gauge. Bloodstock and Grimswathe only gives 1 stack of Soul Reaver, while Gluttony gives 2 stacks. Gibbet Flank and Gallows Rear are used for single targets and are your only weapon skills with positionals, while Guillotine are for more than 2 targets. Once you've used either Gibbet or Gallows, or your flanked or rear positionals, which is how I remember them, the other positional weapon skills potency is buffed. For example, if you use your flank positional, the next time you have a Soul Reaver stack to use, the rear positional will be buffed. Take note that Soul Reaver stacks will expire if you don't use them after getting them for 30 seconds, and will also expire if you use another weapon skill other than Gibbet, Gallows, or Guillotine. This means that after using Bloodstock, Gluttony, or Grimswathe, you have to use Gibbet, Gallows, or Guillotine. Once you have 50 Shroud Gauge, you can Enshroud, giving you access to your Shroud combo. Once you're in Enshroud state, Gibbet, Gallows, and Guillotine change to Void Reaping, Cross Reaping, and Grim Reaping respectively. Similar to before, Void and Cross Reaping are for single targets, while Grim Reaping are for more than 2 targets. You should alternate between Void and Cross Reaping, as using one will buff the potency of the other, similar to Gibbet and Gallows. But unlike Gibbet and Gallows, there are no positional requirements for increased potency for Void and Cross Reaping. After doing 2 GCDs, you gain access to the Shroud OGCD, Lemur's Slice for single targets, and Lemur's Scythe for more than 2 targets. Your finisher in your Shroud combo is Communio. This is the hardest hitting GCD in your kit, but it will end your Shroud state, which is why we are using it as a finisher. In your Shroud state, you can do 5 GCDs and this state will naturally end. Therefore, your most ideal sequence of GCDs will be alternating Void and Cross Reaping twice, and fitting in 2 OGCDs of Lemur's Slice whenever you can before finishing with Communio. And if you have more than 2 targets, do the AoE equivalent. To sum up, your rotation through a fight is basically do your 1-2-3 combo to build Soul Gauge, spend your Soul Gauge to build Shroud Gauge, and do your Enshroud combo. Next, let's talk about Reaper's party buff, Arcane Circle. It increases damage dealt by self and party members for 3%. This is pretty straightforward, but it also allows the use of Plentiful Harvest after 6 seconds of activating it. Plentiful Harvest is a hard-hitting GCD that gives 50 Shroud Gauge straight away. This ability allows us to Enshroud really quickly in the opener, catching the raid buffs, and also allows us to do double Shroud every 2 minutes, which I'll get into a bit more later. The other abilities that Reaper have are Arcane Crest, a defensive cooldown in which you cast a strong shield on yourself, which also regens you and your party members around you once the shield is broken. This is a very strong ability to use to help your healers heal the party up in a raid-wide damage situation. Reapers also have Hell's Ingress and Hell's Egress, which teleports you forward and backwards respectively. You also leave a portal behind where you started, which you can teleport back if you wish. Using the teleports also allow an instant cast of Harp, a ranged spell that has 1.3 seconds cast normally. Next, we have Soul Soul, a spell that allows the use of Harvest Moon, a 600 potency spell for the primary target that also hits for 300 potency as AoE. As it is a high potency range spell that is an instant cast, it is good for when you disengage. It doesn't generate any resources for our gauges though, but it is high potency. So you have to find the balance between substituting Harvest Moon with a resource generating GCD, which might disrupt generating gauges for the next double Shroud. Therefore, it is recommended to use Harvest Moon when you have to disengage or in AoE situations. Soul cast is instant out of combat, but it is a 5-second cast during combat. So, you should prepare Soul before pull and use it during downtime to get another use of Harvest Moon. So far, there are two openers, one which has higher potencies in raid buffs, while the other minimizes your chances of losing a use of Gluttony due to fight alignment. It is also more advisable to use your potion in 2-minute windows than your opener, as the double Shroud window at 2 minutes is higher potency, which makes better use of your potion. Use Harp at about 2 seconds before pull. We start with Shadow of Death and instantly cast Arcane Circle. This is important because any delay will cause Plentiful Harvest not to be up in time due to the 6 seconds delay between using Arcane Circle and the activation of Plentiful Harvest. Next, we do 2 soul slices, weaving a potion in between if you need. We then use Plentiful Harvest and Enshroud. Alternate Void Reaping and Cross Reaping while weaving Lemur's Slice before finishing with Communio. We then weave Gluttony followed by Gibbet and Gallows. The order doesn't matter. Next, we follow it up by Unveiled Gibbet or Gallows into Gibbet or Gallows. For the second opener, we would pre-potion at about 3 seconds if you are planning to pot in the opener, before casting Harp at about 2 seconds. We start off again with Shadow of Death, Arcane Circle and Soul Slice. We then weave Gluttony followed by Gallows and Gibbet. Plentiful Harvest into Enshroud. Now, alternate Void and Cross Reaping while weaving Lemur's Slice when you can, before ending with Communio. We spend our next Soul Slice weaving Unveiled Gibbet or Gallows into Gibbet or Gallows. When the cooldown of your Arcane Circle is below 9 seconds, hit a GCD and then Enshroud. Your first GCD in Enshroud should be Void Reaping followed by Shadow of Death to refresh Death's Design. We weave our potion here before following up with Cross Reaping and another Shadow of Death. We next activate Arcane Circle before we continue alternating Void and Cross Reaping, weaving Lemur's Slice in between. We end the first Shroud with Communio before using Plentiful Harvest to gain another Enshroud. Enshroud immediately and proceed with your Shroud combo as previous. Your GCD here will be a continuation of your combo, followed by Gluttony. If you do not have enough soul, then use Soul Slice, but bear in mind that this might break your combo. The Arcane Circle window should end with Gluttony. Continue with Gibbet and Gallows, Soul Slice, and we end with Gibbet or Gallows. If you use your potion in the double Shroud window, your potion will end at Soul Slice. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.